Chapter 356, Thanks for the help. It hadn't been easy for Changing Spring to get a word in, but as soon as he did, the group chat fell silent. The group chat was silent, and on Guild Happy's side, the spies were feeling exceptionally awkward. Yishu's words had already been thrown out and they didn't have any ideas on how to handle them. They looked towards their leaders, but their leaders hadn't come to a decision yet, either. For now, the party hadn't been dissolved yet. Lord Grimm, Cleansing Mist, and even Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion were still inside. Even though the spies didn't know what these people were doing, the spies felt like they had been exposed. When a spy personally reveals himself and says, "I'm a spy," that would often be his moment of glory after a successful mission. But when others pointed at him and say, "You're a spy," that would be, without a doubt, one of the most awkward spots a spy could be in. Everyone clearly understood what Lord Grimm's words meant. They had been completely found out. But even so, Lord Grimm didn't force them to leave, which meant that he had absolutely no fear of their existence within the guild. Exposed spies were of practically no value anymore. The reasoning behind it was very simple, which was why the spies were quite puzzled about why their seniors were having trouble coming to a decision. How would they know that their leaders were all trying to cheat each other in the group chat? Blue River was an exception to this. As Blue Brook Guild's 10th server guild leader, he was part of the group chat. Now that he was experiencing miserable feelings from both sides, he suddenly felt very tired. He had been in the guild for a long time and had seen these types of competitions between guilds. Even when making alliances, they still had to be vigilant and approach matters cautiously. As one of the core members of the guild, he also took the same style in handling matters. It was just that after he arrived in the 10th server, the top guilds had been completely suppressed by Lord Grimm the entire time. But even when matters got to this step, the top guilds still didn't forget to fight amongst each other. It was only for a small matter like 2 or 3 open accounts, but they still felt compelled to scheme against each other. All of this made Blue River feel powerless. "I'm staying," Blue River suddenly typed in the group chat. Everyone was startled. What was that supposed to mean? Everyone was somewhat puzzled. Did that mean that Blue River was personally over there as a spy? Even Blue River himself was somewhat puzzled. Even he himself wasn't sure what he meant by saying, "I'm staying." A chat notification appeared on his QQ window. Blue River opened it and saw that it was from his guild leader, Changing Spring. The message was as simple as ever, it was a single big question mark. "I'm tired," Blue River also replied back simply. The other side didn't reply back. The group chat continued to remain silent and the spies in Happy continued to feel awkward. This situation continued for a while, when Blue River suddenly saw a system notification. Someone had already left Guild Happy. That someone was naturally from their group of spies. 1, 2, 3. Players from their party continued to leave. Blue River didn't move. He then received another message from Changing Spring. "What do you mean by, 'I'm staying'?" It was surprising that Changing Spring's message contained so many words. If this was a normal situation, Blue River would have definitely gone to find a friend in the guild and laugh. But at this moment, he just wasn't in the right mood. After a short pause, he replied, "I'll wait and see." I'll wait and see. Blue River had no way of saying how he was feeling right now, but these 4 words seemed to have come straight from his heart. This was what he wanted to do, to not even bother thinking about what to do and simply let nature take its course. Blue River waited for a bit again, but he didn't receive a reply from Changing Spring. As for their party and game, in the end, everyone had left, including the 2 open accounts that had gone on with Blue River. The 2 were supposed to take orders from Blue River, but from out of nowhere, they received orders from somewhere else and after saying bye to Blue River, they also left. Members leaving one after the other had caused quite a shock to Guild Happy. After they found out that the players who had left were all high-level players that had joined to kill the Guardian, they were all very puzzled and were asking around in the guild chat. "It's nothing," Yishu added a smiley face. "They were friends that had joined temporarily to help us beat the Guardian," Yishu explained to the guild members. Oh, everyone suddenly understood. "Guild leader, you're so amazing." You know, so many high-level players, some of the guild members were already taking this opportunity to flatter their guild leader. Without a doubt, in their eyes, level 36 players were at a high level, and to have so many high-level friends was certainly something praiseworthy. Ha, that's nothing. Our guild leader's level is even higher than theirs. Someone disdained and switched to a different angle to flatter Yishu. The guild chat returned to its harmonious state. The high-level characters had left the guild and no disturbances appeared. Only one person was very confused. What? I'm not. Only 6 players remained of the original 20 in the party. Apart from Yishu's group of friends, there was Blue River and that very confused brother. Blue River understood him well. This was because he knew that he wasn't a spy from their guild. He obviously wouldn't have understood what Lord Grimm meant previously and had no idea that Lord Grimm had glossed over the fact that they were all spies. Should he do the same and pretend he was confused? The thought crossed Blue River's mind. He then discovered that this was what tyrannical ambitions Zhang Yu had proposed. It was just that the others had considered it as unnecessary. Did he unknowingly walk along this path? Blue River wanted to let nature take its course. But when things came to head, he found out that he still had to use his brain. Just like now, it'd be weird if he didn't say something. Those who didn't know what was going on should be puzzled like that other brother. He should do the same. Although, Blue River really felt too lazy to pretend any longer. Whatever. In the end, Blue River really was too lazy, and so he didn't say anything. He took his account, added the extra points from the level 1 guardian, and then left the party to level. Right now, he didn't know what he wanted to do. It was just that he didn't have any interest right now in being a spy and making a name for himself with this open account in Guild Happy. He knew that, right now, he didn't want to touch his Blue River account. The one that represented their Blue Brook Guild. Oh, there's still 2 people left. Were these 2 sent by the guilds? Chen Guo saw that after beating the Guardian, almost all of the high-level characters left. Only these 2 remained. How would I know? I'm not God, Yi Shu said. This one seems like he isn't fake, but where'd he run off to? What is he planning on doing? Chen Guo commented on the 2 characters. Yi Shu shook his head. You're really shameless though. You actually used spies from other guilds to help you in beating the Guardian, Chen Guo said. It's fine. It's fine, Yi Shu said, while using his mouse to click on a few names on his friends list. Who are these guys? Chen Guo asked. Herb Garden, Tyrannical Ambition, Blue Brook Guild, etc. They're 10th server's guild leaders. Yi Shu introduced them to Chen Guo. Chen Guo knew these guilds well in the heavenly domain, but she didn't know anything about them in the 10th server. Though with your strategy, you'd still be fine even if they weren't there, Chen Guo said. No way. Did you see my character after beating the Guardian? Yi Shu said. I was almost out of mana, Yi Shu said. Chen Guo seemed to have figured something out. Without these high-level characters, this strategy wouldn't have worked. My mana wouldn't be enough to whittle down the Guardian's health the entire way, Yi Shu said. Chen Guo understood now. To others, it just looked like the other party members just needed to put out damage. But if their damage output wasn't high enough and the battle dragged on for too long, the 2 characters, who controlled the aggro, would have run out of mana and been unable to continue. Then, if you didn't have these guys, how would you have done it? Chen Guo asked. Then, we'd have had to wait until we got to a higher level. So you're saying that thanks to these spies, you were able to beat the level 1 Guardian? Basically, Yi Shu nodded his head. Even though it feels very shameless, it feels quite amazing. Were any of them from Excellent Dynasty? Chen Guo said. Maybe you can go across the street to ask, Yi Shu said. I really want to, Chen Guo nodded her head honestly. Ha ha ha, forget about it. A casual thanks is good enough, Yi Shu said. He clicked on a few names from his friends list and sent them his sincere thanks. Chen Guo could already imagine how these guild leaders would feel when they received the message. F***ck your sister. And just like Chen Guo expected. Cold Night, Plantago Seed, Lonely Drink and the other guild leaders went insane after receiving these messages. The spies they had sent out had become laborers for their enemy. In addition, Lord Grimm's words didn't mention any spies. He actually regarded them as helpers that the top guilds had kindly sent to help him. People who didn't understand the situation wouldn't find any problems with Lord Grimm's thanks. Only the top guilds and their crafty players would feel even more furious over his thanks. Lord Grimm. That night, players from all over the place furiously cursed his name. Chapter 357, A Lone Log Can't Prop Up a Tottering Building. The event with the Guardian and spies had come to an end. On the surface, Yi Shu didn't seem to care too much about the remaining 2 players in the guild, but in his heart, he still paid a lot of attention to them. A single outstanding spy was enough to destroy a guild. Before a guild was backed by a club, they would be extremely weak. Sometimes, what would seem like a very trivial matter could cause a guild to collapse, let alone when someone had infiltrated specifically in order to destroy them. Even though Yi Shu didn't say anything to the 2 characters that hadn't left, he took note of their names. This was because he still lacked a way to completely reveal all the spies in his midst. Yi Shu also had no idea whether or not there were any spies amongst the low-leveled players. Though when he had made the guild, Yi Shu had made preparations for this, especially since his goal was to eventually form separate teams within the guild. This sort of struggle would never end. If they needed to, they might need to use these types of methods too. There wasn't any right or wrong, just or unjust in this. This was basic strategy in a fight between guilds. For now, Yi Shu decided not to think about these matters and looked over the guild chat. The majority of players had gone offline to rest after seeing that the Guardian challenge had been successful. The ones who were still online were pretty much the all-nighters. There was no way they could be like the top guilds and have their accounts played on by multiple players as a type of work. These all-nighters, who were willing to spend this amount of time in their lives, could very likely be their guild's main force. The guild chat's discussion topic was naturally about the Guardian's blessing that they had obtained after the completion of the Guardian challenge. Players of all kinds of classes were talking over how they should allocate these extra points. Quite a few were browsing through various guides on the web, while debating with others. This sort of low-level talk was beneath Yi Shu, although for these noobs, Yi Shu still felt like he should help guide them so they wouldn't go off on the wrong path. After seeing just a few minutes of their discussion, Yi Shu already saw several flaws in quite a few of the players' arguments. He had no idea where these noobs found such trash guides, yet they were treating them like treasures and spreading them around. Hey, the one called Prideless. Yi Shu couldn't bear it any longer and finally called out a name. Here, Prideless was one of the very active players in the discussion. When he saw that he had been noticed by the guild leader and had even been called out by name, he felt extremely happy and immediately replied. Where do you find that guide? It's wrong. Yi Shu was quite direct, simply because the nonsense Prideless was spouting was too far off. It didn't even seem like it was right. Prideless was startled. Most Ghostblade skills are magic-based, so adding intelligent isn't wrong, but whether you're a phantom demon or a sword demon, putting points into intelligence can't be the only choice. Sword demons have a few physical damage attacks. In addition, a lot of the time, you'll be using normal attacks to connect combos, so adding a few points into strength is a must. Now as for phantom demons, they have several skills with crowd control effects. Spirit increases the effectiveness of these crowd control skills, so phantom demons also need to add a few points into spirit. The guide that you posted doesn't even consider the basic characteristics of your class. If it's a magic-based class, then put everything into intelligence? It's not quite that simple. Prideless stuttered, but wasn't able to say anything to defend himself. He was having trouble understanding what Yi Shu was saying. And that battle mage guide. Yi Shu switched the topic and pointed at a different guy who was also spouting nonsense. Yi Shu knew even more about battle mages. With just a few words, he had made the guy go speechless. There's more. There's no point in saving up your extra points from the Guardian's blessing. If you add it wrongly or want to change it, you can just leave the guild and then join again. Yi Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw that these guys were telling everyone to not randomly allocate their points. When the player left the guild, these extra points from the blessing would be automatically taken away, so they could basically reset it whenever they wanted to. And the team that's going to dungeon. What type of party composition is that? You'll definitely die from exhaustion. Get 2 magic classes in there. The more Yi Shu looked, the more problems he discovered. Some of these players saw that their dungeon count had reset, so they immediately went and formed a party with their new guildmates, but didn't pay attention to the party composition and just added whoever wanted to join. There were many classes in Glory. Different matchings had different strategies for them. For different dungeons, there would always be the most efficient, safest, etc. party compositions. For new players, being able to easily beat a dungeon was quite impressive. In Glory, every time you entered a dungeon, the dungeon count would decrease whether you succeeded or failed. Yi Shu had only been playing with experienced experts. Even without them, by having him in the party, they would never fail a dungeon. But for new players, dying in the dungeons was a very common occurrence. This was also one of the main reasons why the players from top guilds were so far ahead of normal players in levels. With experts carrying the party, beating a dungeon would be much quicker and easier than having those who were studying it for their first time. Even if these dungeons all had detailed guides, if new players wanted to turn the guide into a reality, they would usually die several times trying. And every time they died, let alone not receiving the dungeon rewards, they would lose experience. With this back and forth situation, how would these experienced veterans not level faster? In the past, Yi Shu had only the few around him to care about. He could carry Tang Ru, Steam Bun Invasion, or whoever else was on their team to beat any dungeon with ease, but now that he had a guild, there were several hundred members. Thus, he could only talk in the guild chat and fix any problematic areas. Yi Shu was too preoccupied with this to do anything else and spent a good 2 hours talking in the guild chat. And this was when the guild only had a small number of players, yet there were still so many issues. When all 500 players got on, what would that be like then? Yi Shu thought of this and felt his head go numb. Creating a guild in itself was already troublesome. This was why pro teams always had someone else specially deal with it. How could pros personally run over to do this sort of work? Yi Shu didn't want to do it either, but he didn't have anyone else to help him. Tang Ru was skilled, but she might not be any better than some of these new players in this area. Steam Bun Invasion was more familiar with games, but letting him manage a guild. That would only happen if his head got smashed against a tree. Su Mucheng and Chen Guo could help, but because they had their own work to do, the amount of help they could offer was limited. After thinking and thinking, Yi Shu's gaze stopped on the 2 level 36 characters in his guild. These 2 hadn't gone offline yet. They seemed to be all-nighters. When they were fighting against the Guardian, Yi Shu had actually been paying attention to everyone's movements. Those cheap tricksters, who weren't trying or weren't following orders on purpose, couldn't get past Yi Shu's experienced eyes. This was what made him even more confident that they were spies. The huge rush of high-leveled players coming in all at once wasn't the only reason. However, even though Yi Shu had perceptive eyes, he had still been fighting, so there was no way he could have caught everything that they tried to do. For example, Yi Shu couldn't remember how these 2 characters performed. This was another reason why he couldn't be sure of these 2 players' identities. If they really are spies, could I maybe use them? Yi Shu pondered. Spies were always extremely loyal to their guilds and were definitely experienced glory veterans. Even though they might not have the ability to manage a guild, Yi Shu didn't need such an experienced manager yet. He just hoped that they'd help him share the responsibility in guiding these noobs. This was something any glory veteran could do. But this assignment would be very different from the Guardian. Assigning them such a task would be the same as making them a core member of the guild. This was something that any spy would want to do. Once they entered the inner circle, they would be able to set up a reputation in the guild. If they really were spies, then it'd be very dangerous. How should I do this? Yi Shu quietly pondered. In the end, he clicked on the 2 names and requested to add them as friends. One of them quickly accepted it, while the other didn't respond, even though he was clearly online. The one who didn't respond was Blue River. Right now, he didn't know what he was doing. He was using an open account and wandering around randomly in Glory. When he saw the notification and opened it, he was surprised to see that it was a friend request from Lord Grimm. What's the meaning of this? Blue River discovered that life truly was hard. All he wanted to do was run around and daydream, but something always had to pop up. He thought about it and then in the end, he decided he didn't care anymore. He accepted the friend invite and then sent a message, "What's up, guild leader? You busy? If you've got nothing to do, why not come to the arena and compare notes with me?" The other side responded as if they were good old friends, making Blue River surprised again. Could he have recognized me? No way, Blue River mumbled and then replied, "Alright, where to?" Chapter 358, Getting Straight to the Point. Blue River asked as he returned back to the city from the wilderness. He headed straight for the arena. When he found the room that Lord Grimm had set up, he found that Lord Grimm and the other level 36 player were sparring. It only looked like a battle though. After taking a closer look, he felt that calling it a battle would be too praiseworthy for Chicken Feather. It was a completely one-sided match. With Chicken Feather's skill, Blue River couldn't bear to watch anymore. In his eyes, this Chicken Feather really was someone who had just started playing Glory. And his opponent? God Yi Chu with 10 years of experience. Not long after Blue River joined the room, Chicken Feather fell to the ground, defeated. He even sent out a sad face emoticon afterwards. Blue River reckoned that this Chicken Feather probably couldn't even recognize how terrifying his opponent was or perhaps even thought that he was just slightly worse. It was similar to how Tang Ru was initially. She wasn't good enough to tell how large the skill gap was. Yi Shu was very disappointed too. He had fought with Chicken Feather very diligently, but after 3 rounds, he was already certain that this Chicken Feather truly was a new player at Glory. A new player pretending to be an expert and an expert pretending to be a new player, it couldn't be hidden from Yi Shu's experienced eyes. Again, Chicken Feather had already lost 3 rounds in a row, but was still eager to give it another try. Take a rest for now. I'm going to fight with Peerless Looks for a bit and then we'll see, Yi Shu said. Peerless Looks was the ID of the account that Blue River was currently using. The class was a Blade Master. He knew Lord Grimm was God Yi Chu, so he didn't have any hopes of beating him in a fight. He simply continued on with his go-with-the-flow attitude. If Lord Grimm had wanted him to fight, then he'd fight. Blue River accepted Yi Shu's invite and the two entered the stage. Start, Blue River asked after entering. Go ahead, Yi Shu didn't say too much. Blue River didn't hesitate. At this moment, he didn't want to ask like he was a new player. He wasn't staying on this account in order to be a spy. He was simply using it to mess around. His blade light flashed and Blue River began with a simple sword draw. Lord Grimm was taking it very seriously too. He began moving before the blade light flashed and easily dodged the attack. How quick, Blue River gasped in admiration. When he had used sword draw, Lord Grimm had definitely been within range, but by the time his sword strike had flown out, his sword strike had missed Lord Grimm by 2 full units. This couldn't be done solely through his reaction speed. He had clearly predicted that Blue River would initiate with this move. Blue River wasn't surprised that this had happened though. He didn't think that he had any chance of winning, so he was very relaxed. Sword draw missing wasn't anything to sigh about. He moved 1 unit to the side and then sprinted forward with a stab. Dong, Lord Grimm had taken out a sword and guarded against Blue River's attack. After guarding, he retreated backwards. The sword in his hands shifted back into an umbrella and as he slid back, 3 anti-tank missiles fired out with a bang. Too quick, Blue River was helpless. His opponent was better than him in every way. He didn't have any time to react to the 3 anti-tank missiles. He tried to dodge, but he was too slow and was pushed back by the explosion from the missiles. Blue River rolled on the floor, an experienced maneuver. Oh, not bad, Lord Grimm suddenly said. What was not bad? Blue River didn't see anything praiseworthy. Could it be because his roll had been done beautifully? In truth, Blue River hadn't predicted that Lord Grimm would use a method to continue attacking. His roll had simply been done out of habit. Whenever he encountered a situation such as this, he would instinctively do a roll. How could he now? This type of instant reaction made Yi Shu feel that the person in front of him might not be a new player. Though if he wasn't a new player, it was very likely that he was a spy from some guild. Yi Shu thought this as he attacked. Overall, against a god-level player, Blue River's situation wouldn't be too much better than Chicken Feather. However, Blue River still had more knowledge. Even if he lost, he would at least know how and why he had lost. He wouldn't be like that Chicken Feather, who didn't understand the difference in the skill levels and only knew that he had somehow lost. Not long after, Blue River was sent flying and unable to stand back up. The first round had ended. It hadn't even been a full minute since the match had began and Lord Grim hadn't lost a single drop of blood yet. Blue River felt his face burning. Even though he knew that he was up against a top god, he had still been confident that he could hit him a few times and at least prove himself to be better than that Chicken Feather, but from the looks of it, he seemed to be the same as that Chicken Feather and had gotten beaten up too. It seemed that he had overestimated himself. Again? Yi Shu asked. Yi Shu already felt like he had seen enough. This person definitely wasn't a new player and was quite familiar with the Blade Master class too. Some of his moves had clearly been out of habit. In game, he would definitely be considered an expert. But apart from that, Yi Shu was somewhat puzzled. He had been able to see all this in a mere 1 minute and the reason he was able to was because this person didn't hide anything. This was what Yi Shu couldn't understand. If he was a spy sent by another guild, wasn't he afraid of being exposed? Or could he have been employing a reverse psychology tactic? What do you think? Yi Shu was still thinking, when the other side replied. That'll be it then. Let's leave, Yi Shu said and left the arena. Blue River was baffled. Why had he been suddenly called out to play a round of PvP? After exiting the arena, Blue River quickly received a message from Yi Shu. How many years have you been playing Glory? Quite a few years, Blue River replied. Which guild? Yi Shu asked. So direct. Blue River coughed up blood, but he was too lazy to hide himself. Since he was going with the flow, he might as well answer the question. Blue Brook Guild. Blue River? Yi Shu asked. No way. How do you know? Blue River was shocked. He was quite sure that Yi Shu had the ability to tell that he was an experienced player from his previous performance, but being able to actually identify him was truly too terrifying. Even though he was also an in-game expert, he was still only a measly character compared to a pro. He had a hard time believing that such a god would care so much about him and even recognize his style. I didn't. It was a random guess. Such an accurate random guess, Blue River was speechless. Blue Brook Guild. There are only 3 Blade Masters there that I know and that Poplar Bleach doesn't seem like the type of person who would be a good spy, Yi Shu said. So he knows Poplar Beach, Blue River corrected and asked curiously, then who's the last person? Huang Shaoshan. Oh, Blue River wiped a bead of sweat from his face. Huang Shaoshan obviously couldn't be a spy. What's up with you? What type of spy acts like that? Yi Shu had already begun scolding him. Blue River's cheeks were streaked with tears. This was such a weird conversation. He didn't know how to reply. You've already been caught, so why did you stay in my guild? Yi Shu continued to ask. I was bored, so I just stayed, Blue River replied. Bored? Then I'll give you some stuff to do. What stuff? Blue River asked. Help me manage my guild, Yi Shu said. He instantly froze. Blue River pinched himself to confirm that he wasn't dreaming. He then opened up his chat log and looked carefully again to see that he hadn't seen wrongly. He then froze again. He couldn't understand where such a weird thought came from. Hello? Hello? Yi Shu was still urging him. Help you manage your guild? Blue River asked back. Yeah. Why? Blue River was very curious. Because you're bored. Yi Shu's response made Blue River want to slam his head against the wall. Not that, Blue River typed. You know who I am and yet you want me to help manage your guild? Yeah. What do you mean, yeah? What's your reasoning behind this? Look, Yi Shu began to help Blue River analyze. My guild has just been created and everyone is a new player, so they don't understand a lot of things. They very much need a qualified veteran to help them out. I'm a spy, Blue River stressed. With this line, Blue River felt that he might be the weirdest spy ever. But you're a spy who's been caught, Yi Shu said. Blue River stared blankly. He suddenly understood a bit of what the god was thinking. He was getting straight to the point. Chapter 359, Babysitter Blue River. Blue River froze for a good while before finally replying back, "Why should I help you manage your guild?" "Because you're bored." The other side responded with the same answer as before, making Blue River grab his hair in frustration. In this strange situation, he reckoned that if news of this spread, everyone would think that he was mentally insane. He was a spy who had lost faith in what he was doing and even had his true identity exposed, but the other side had unexpectedly handed him an important task. If he didn't know that the other side was a god and that he was just a little shrimp in comparison, Blue River would have suspected that there was some sort of conspiracy theory revolving around him. "There really isn't that much work to do," Yi Shu began to say. "If you look at the guild chat, you'll see that some of these new players are super newbie." I saw. Blue River hadn't really paid too much attention to the guild chat, but once Yi Shu finished what he had said and Blue River looked, he saw that there were actually a lot of noob discussions going on. Yi Shu had worked hard these last 2 hours trying to correct them, but even after correcting them, the new players continued to let loose with their noobish thoughts. Yi Shu's knowledge and theories were being corroded by these noobs. The person leading these bunch of players wouldn't really be considered a leader, but more like a babysitter. This was something that Blue River was very experienced with. This was exactly the type of work a guild leader in a new server would do. It was just that when he came over to the new server, he also brought along a few helpers, so that they wouldn't be like guild happy, which didn't have any experts at its core. Well, it did have experts, but only having God Yi Chu teach a bunch of noobs was a bit too much. When Blue River thought about how there were 500 noobs, he also shivered, but he quickly slapped his forehead. "Why am I even thinking about this? I'm the Blue Brook Guild's 10th server guild leader. How could I run over to another guild and be a babysitter?" Blue River thought, while cautiously looking left and right. Blue River couldn't let his coworkers know about this weird event. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lord Grimm continued to send messages one after the other. His messages were very clear. They were clearly explaining to Blue River how he should begin his task. Hey, I never said I'd help you," Blue River replied. "Oh, then hear me out. Doing this can help you manage your Blue Brook Guild as well," Yi Shu said. "One person playing on 2 accounts and managing 2 guilds. That's got to be a first," Yi Shu messaged once again. Blue River immediately began imagining the scene, but he quickly recovered. "What the heck? Why does it feel like I've agreed with him?" "How much does Blue Brook Guild pay you every month?" Yi Shu messaged. Money was a touchy topic, but it had to be mentioned. In truth, players like Blue River could be considered as someone who played games for a living. It was just that, when compared to pro players, their jobs were more stable. They were basically Club Blue Rain's employees with their work being to play Glory. The entire industry in Glory was maturing, including both the Pro Alliance and their professional guilds. Guilds that were backed by clubs were one of the types of professional guild, but apart from those, there were also other types of professional guilds that didn't rely on a club backing them. Some of these might actually be workshops that existed as guilds in the game. Substitute leveling, trading items, materials, etc. would all be covered by this business. As for guilds backed by clubs, they weren't as professional as these work studios. The only ones that were paid by the clubs were its upper-level core members. The rest were fans that gathered together to support and contribute to their favorite teams through the guild. Blue River was one of Blue Brook Guild's 5 great experts and the guild leader in the 10th server, so Yi Shu was very certain that Blue River was paid for by Club Blue Rain. As for how much their salary was, Yi Shu could only make an assumption. Each guild had different rates, but there wouldn't be too big of a difference between them. Blue River didn't expect Yi Shu to ask this question, but from this, he was able to see the other side's ambition. Only a guild with a pro team could hire employees to manage their guild. Not waiting for Blue River's answer, Yi Shu sent another message. "Well, it doesn't matter. We don't actually have any money, so go work first and then we'll pay you back later." Blue River coughed up blood. In the end, he just wanted free labor. Blue River trusted that Yi Shu would keep his promise though. Even though this guy sometimes made him want to grind his teeth, Blue River always felt that he was a trustworthy person. I think that's it? Is there anything else? Yishu asked again. Hey, what the heck? I never agreed, Blue River struggled. There's no need to be polite. What? Polite? I'm the guild leader for Blue Brook Guild. I don't have time to help you manage your guild, Blue River said. But you have the time to play on a different account and blindly stroll around in my guild, Yishu replied. After a short pause, he added, and you've already been exposed too. Blue River couldn't answer back. He didn't really care about anything right now. He even implied that when he spoke to Changing Spring. As for how the club would react when they found out he wasn't doing any work, he unexpectedly hadn't thought of that. After all, he wasn't just some random fan who was working for fun. He was taking their money and it was his responsibility to put in effort. The words that he had said to Changing Spring hadn't been a resignation. It was just that Blue River felt very tired and wanted to take a break and wander around without having to care about anything. But it hadn't even been 2 hours since he had started and Lord Grimm had already handed him a bunch of stuff to do as if he actually was Guild Happy's manager. Lord Grimm had even given him the power to add and kick people from the guild. Blue River had no idea what to do at this moment. Look, these two noobs have started arguing and neither of them is right, Yishu messaged. Blue River opened the guild chat and looked. Two elementalists were discussing which path to take. Both were sticking to their own views and it turned out that both views were complete nonsense. Blue River's knowledge of the game obviously couldn't compare to Yishu's and he certainly wasn't proficient in every class like Yishu was, but he was more than qualified enough to correct some noobs. Blue River glanced at it and in the end, he couldn't help but speak up and instruct the two noobs. When the two noobs saw this peerless looks talk, they thought he was another noob who had joined in on the debate, but then they saw that he had said that both of them were wrong and quite impolitely too. Though after seeing peerless looks level, they immediately became obedient. In game, being high level didn't necessarily mean you were an expert, but that was what a lot of noobs thought. Once Blue River started, he couldn't stop. He began organizing the members who were still online to do quests and run dungeons, assigning everything clearly and orderly. Blue River was clearly much better at this than Yishu was. After all, playing in a guild was something that Yishu had done before he joined the pro scene. It was something that he hadn't done in many years. Who's this? Su Mucheng and Tang Ru asked curiously. At this moment, Chen Guo had already gone to sleep. Blue River. Blue Brook Guild's 10th server guild leader, Yishu told them. The two heard this and had weird expressions on their faces. Why would someone from Blue Brook Guild help manage our guild? Su Mucheng asked. I don't know why, but this guild leader ran over to our guild to be a spy and was caught by me. In any case, I know who he is, so we can just let him work. See, he's very good. Much better than I am. After seeing how Blue River was handling things and that the guild chat was now neat and orderly, he could only feel inferior. So is he a deserter? Su Mucheng asked. No idea. But I reckon that something's up with him. A guild leader running over to be a spy is already very unusual. Even when everyone else left, he still stayed. When he was called over to fight, he didn't even try to hide that he was a spy. When I asked for his identity, he just said it. We'll see, Yishu said. Hey, Yishu received a message from Blue River. What's up? What's up with this guild title you gave me? I'm not a babysitter. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Blue River had been talking in the guild chat the entire time. Then he suddenly discovered that his character had a title on his head that said, Guild Happy's #1 babysitter. Every guild member by default had the title, Guild XX member. To those who had the power to, the word member could be changed. A lot of guild experts gave themselves impressive titles. Yishu had changed Blue River's title to #1 babysitter. Even though it was quite fitting, Blue River was clearly unhappy with it. You don't like it? Then what should I call you? Yishu asked. Nothing. Just use the default. Blue River liked to stay low-key. Okay, Yishu didn't make it difficult for him and immediately switched the title back to the default title. Blue River began talking in the guild chat again. Keep up the good work. After a few days, there'll be more people here to help you, Yishu messaged Blue River. After a few days, Blue River didn't understand. Around 5 days, Yishu replied. 5 days, so it's like that. No wonder you're at ease with me being here. I'll only be working for 5 days, Blue River replied. How could that be? As long as you're willing, you can keep working for as long as you'd like, Yishu replied. Chapter 360, Steady Development. 5 days. Blue River immediately understood after hearing this. Most of the high-level players had already joined guilds, especially the old players, who knew of the importance of the Guardian, and would usually join a guild early on. But some of them might be moved by the fiery opening of Lord Grimm's guild. Though if they wanted to join, they couldn't do so immediately. They had to wait 5 days after leaving the guild. As a result, after 5 days, Guild Happy would have a batch of useful players join, whether that was a lot or only a few. When that time came, he might not be the only spy though, since it would be a perfect opportunity to get high-level spies into the guild. Blue River had thought of a lot of things, though he was still stumped for words when Yishu causally told him that as long as he wanted to stay, he could. Was God Yichu really not on guard against him? He didn't even know whether or not to be on guard against him because, right now, he didn't know what was going on with himself. He had accepted Yishu's task for some strange reason. When he was busily typing in the guild chat, he really didn't have too many thoughts. He was simply doing what Yishu told him to do. But if this was his normal self, would he have used this opportunity to gain trust and become an actual spy? Blue River stared blankly. He felt like he was stuck at a crossroad. Should he go left or should he go right? It seemed like he would need to choose soon. One person, 2 accounts, managing 2 guilds. Blue River suddenly thought of what Yishu had said previously. That had obviously been said as a joke. A normal player might be able to do something like this. But he was a professional with Club Blue Rain's name. With Club Blue Rain paying him, how could he help someone else do their work? Whatever. There's no point in thinking about it so much. I'll just go along with it for 5 days and then go from there. Blue River shook his head. He wouldn't think so much and just continue being busy in the guild chat. 5 days. It couldn't be considered as a long time, but it couldn't be considered as short, either. In Glory, 5 days was enough to set many dungeon records. This was something that many guilds cared about, especially after the creation of Lord Grimm's Guild Happy. Rumor has it that many of the guild leaders had woken up during their sleep from nightmares. In reality, what everyone feared didn't happen. After 5 days passed, when the level of Guild Happy's players increased another stage, Guild Happy didn't take down any records. There were even some who were initially filled with high expectations for Guild Happy, thinking that there would be lots of exciting gossip to hear, but were all disappointed after 5 days had passed. Day 5. Guild Happy leveled from level 5 to level 12. For a guild that always had the maximum number of players possible, this leveling speed wasn't actually anything impressive. And after getting past level 10, the excitement from the new Guild Happy members had died down a lot. The main thing was that Guild Happy had already reached level 12, but they still hadn't challenged the level 2 Guardian. A lot of talk, but no action. There were already many criticisms of this type from the outside world. But for top guilds like Tyrannical Ambition, this situation was quite rage-inducing. Not challenging the Guardian at level 10, could it be because Guild Happy wasn't strong enough to do so? Could the reason Guild Happy had been able to beat the Guardian at level 5 be because of the spies they had sent out? When the top guilds thought of this, the guild leaders didn't have any other thoughts than kicking people. But it was currently a good time to send out spies. 5 days. The players who had left their guilds to join Guild Happy could finally do so. This was something the top guilds were certain of. This was because there was no lack of players that had left their guilds to do this. Among these, Blue Brook Guild and Tyrannical Ambition stood out. These 2 guilds had been crushed by Lord Grimm before. Quite a few new players in these guilds had begun doubting their guild. These new players didn't have that sort of fan loyalty yet. Seeing what seemed to be an even better Lord Grimm create a guild, many of them immediately thought of running over to him and quickly left. When they discussed whether they should send out spies or not, the guilds couldn't help but think of the guild members that had left and felt unbearably sad. The spies had to be sent out. This time, the top guilds didn't need to worry about whether their spies would become their enemies' free labor force. Even if they weren't there, the other side could still create a high-level 20-player team. On Guild Happy's side, the new wave of new players had been predicted 5 days ago. Most of the new players this time had left their guilds to join Guild Happy. Not fighting the Guardian after level 10 had made Guild Happy become worried. This was the truth. However, the reason that Guild Happy's numbers weren't growing as fast after level 10 definitely wasn't because of this. Even though the guild members' excitement had waned, ensuring that they could reach the max limit of players with every level up wouldn't be difficult. There were still many players on Guild Happy's request list. The reason that the numbers weren't growing as fast was entirely because of Yi Shu. It was preparation for this batch of players. The players who joined hadn't hesitated to leave their guild. Some of them were from top guilds as well, so it was very easy to see how passionate these players were. Seven Fields and Sleeping Moon's group had switched over from Full Moon Guild and had even dragged a few of their good friends over as well. They might not be experts, but they were certainly experienced veterans. These players did not have high levels, but Yi Shu welcomed them kindly nonetheless. Their levels fit together perfectly with everyone else. Having them level up with these new players would be a big help. As for those players with levels around Lord Grimm's level, having them carry the low-level new players to beat dungeons would be okay once or twice for a few days. But after a while, they wouldn't be happy. The veterans like Seven Fields who were at the same level as these low-level players could carry this burden. Their leading would be better than having these new players looking at guides and stumbling around in the dungeon until they passed it. Though the one who had worked the hardest was still Blue River. During these 5 days, Yi Shu almost never saw Blue River on his main account. He saw him with his open account every single day, helping Guild Happy with everything. This experienced manager quickly made the players who didn't understand a guild's value see the advantages of a guild. They had organized themselves for leveling, dungeoning, and questing purposes. All of these increased their efficiency and reduced the difficulty. Feeling these benefits, the impression towards guilds by the players who had liked to play alone naturally increased. A level 12 guild could have a maximum of 1,200 players. On the 6th day since Guild Happy's creation, they finally reached that maximum. Yi Shu then locked the guild requests. What are you doing? Chen Guo didn't understand Yi Shu's actions. These days, she had been even more attentive towards Guild Happy than Yi Shu. Whenever she played, her attention was on Yi Shu's screen half the time. We have enough players, Yi Shu said. There's still a lot on the request list, Chen Guo said. Yi Shu shook his head. It's enough. We're still only a normal guild. Our players aren't as loyal as those guilds backed by clubs. Our development can't be too quick. We actually have a bit too many players right now. Without Blue River's experienced managing, who knows what would have happened. It can't be that bad, right? Chen Guo thought differently. Guild Happy's development had made her very excited. In her eyes, Guild Happy getting to a maximum of 10,000 players wouldn't be difficult. When the time for the Heavenly Domain Challenge passed, 10,000 players joining the Heavenly Domain would create a huge scene. She had been expecting this scene to happen, but then Yi Shu suddenly closed off the guild request list. You've played the game for so long. You should have seen a big guild fall many times, Yi Shu said. There were reasons for those, Chen Guo said. If we don't control it, those sorts of reasons will pop up, Yi Shu said. Then what do we do? Right now, it's still in my range of control. We'll slowly grow in this way. After we officially create our team, participate in a few matches and win some fame, the nature of our guild will gradually change, Yi Shu said. Oh, Chen Guo nodded her head and didn't argue. She really didn't know enough in this area to discuss things with Yi Shu. Then what now? Chen Guo was concerned over this. We'll beat the Guardian first, Yi Shu said and began pulling in people. Quite a few high-level players had joined. There will definitely be spies from the top guilds among these, right? Chen Guo said. Of course, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing we can do about it, Yi Shu said casually. The 20-player team was quickly created. After saying what they were going to do in the guild chat, no one objected. The Guardian's blessing was something that everyone wanted to have. With Yishu and Su Mucheng's aggro control, the difficult Guardian challenge transformed into an easy and relaxed battle. And this time, not everyone could be a spy. Everyone listened to directions and tried their hardest. The level 2 Guardian seemed to be even easier than the level 1 Guardian, and it was quickly defeated.